The movie begins in a remote desert in Thailand, where two workers arrive at a restricted area. Driven by curiosity, one of them decides to explore what's there. When he doesn't return, his friend goes closer to the pit to check on him. As he peers inside nervously, his friend suddenly emerges, terrified, trying to escape, but something drags him back into the hole. The other man panics and looks down again, only to see a horrifying creature devouring his friend. He tries to run for his life, but the monster grabs him too and pulls him underground. A while later, the man wakes up inside a dark cave surrounded by other missing people. They're trying to come up with a plan to escape, but the creature suddenly appears and kills them all mercilessly. That's when we realize the monster is actually a gigantic lizard. Then we cut to a singer named Cal performing at a nightclub. He's struggling financially after losing his job, which forces him to live with his cousin Jade since he also got evicted from his home. Things get even worse when he receives a call informing him that his grandfather has died. He decides to return to his hometown, a village called Leio, to attend the funeral. Coincidentally, this is the same village where the monster incident took place. We learn that Cal spent his childhood there with his grandfather, who worked as a digger building underground water channels to irrigate farmlands. Cal had learned the trade from him and knew the area well. Once he arrives, he meets Tun, his grandfather's former assistant, and unexpectedly runs into his childhood friend Fawn, whom he still has feelings for. Fawn is there to pay her respects because Cal's grandfather once saved her life when she was a little girl. Fawn wants to make the village famous through social media. She organizes a big competition with a huge cash prize for anyone who can find an underground water source to save the farmlands from drought. Cal sees this as the perfect opportunity to turn his life around, so he decides to participate using his grandfather's old tools, which he upgrades and modifies with help from his friends. Cal, Jade, and the rest of the team head into the desert, joining many other contestants. Fawn steps on stage and launches a glowing flare into the sky, signaling the start of the competition. Everyone jumps into their vehicles and races across the desert in search of water. The roaring engines and vibrations attract the attention of the monster, which begins heading straight toward them. Cal's team starts digging, but they only find dry soil. The other teams face the same problem, even though there are old water tunnels beneath the ground. Meanwhile, another group of contestants stumbles upon a motorcycle that belonged to the man killed at the beginning of the film. They plan to sell it for cash instead of continuing the pointless contest, but then they notice something strange moving under the sand, something coming right toward them. It's the monster, drawn by the vibrations from the motorcycle. They try to escape, but the creature opens a massive pit in front of them, and they all fall in. Back with Cal, he finds an old map hidden inside his grandfather's truck. It turns out his grandfather had marked every spot where he once found water, except for one unexplored area beneath a nearby mountain. Cal and his team decide to head there immediately. As the sun sets, most contestants return to their homes, but a small group decides to camp in the desert overnight. They start a fire, cook, and relax, unaware of what's coming. Suddenly, something flashes across the sky, and moments later one of them is sliced in half, his head landing in the fire. The rest panic, rushing to the car, only to realize the keys are missing. The vehicle starts shaking violently as strange limbs emerge from beneath it. Terrified, everyone runs in different directions. One of them manages to grab the keys and return to the car, but when he looks ahead, he sees his friend standing motionless with a horrifying expression. As he gets closer, he notices something moving inside his friend's body, and then the enormous lizard appears, glaring at him with its terrifying eyes before lunging forward and devouring him without mercy. The next day, the car from the previous night is found, but the people who were inside it are missing, and no one knows where they went. At that moment, Fawn starts to feel that something strange is going on and insists that the competition should be stopped immediately. But the director gets a phone call, steps aside to answer it, and we find out that the caller is a businessman named Moheb. Moheb tells the director that he heard about the people who disappeared, but he doesn't want the competition to stop. He wants it to keep going so he can take credit for saving everyone and finding water for them, all just to steal the land for himself. He doesn't care how many people die in the process. He's completely selfish and ruthless. In fact, he's planning to blow up the underground pipes to achieve his goal, even though it will cause massive destruction. Meanwhile, Kao and his team arrive at the mountain, planning to explore the cave, the only place his grandfather never searched before. They enter the dark cave, and Jade feels like someone is following them. Tun mocks her, laughing and saying, "Stop imagining things, there's nothing here but sand." As they go deeper into the cave, Jade notices something strange. The walls are damp and moist, which means the water might be close. The team feels excited, thinking they're getting closer to the prize. But suddenly, Tun hears a weird noise echoing in the darkness. He tries to find the source, still teasing Jade, until the giant lizard jumps out and attacks him, swallowing him whole. Jade screams and runs toward the cave exit, terrified. Outside, Moheb is busy planting explosives underground, an illegal act that will destroy the entire water system. Fawn catches him and shouts for him to stop, warning that he's going to damage the whole ecosystem, but he ignores her completely. At that moment, Kao arrives and tells them what happened inside the cave. He warns them that a deadly monster is coming their way, the same creature that killed their friends. They don't believe him at first, until the ground suddenly cracks open and the monster emerges, swallowing one of the workers instantly. Everyone panics and runs toward a truck while the creature chases them, shaking the earth beneath their feet. The massive lizard bursts completely out of the ground, roaring and attacking, forcing them all to scatter. Jade jumps into the truck while the director stands nearby. He sees the monster charging straight at him but doesn't move. He stands his ground until the creature devours him. Then the monster raises its head, but Kao rushes in to save Jade. With no other choice, he jumps into the pit with her. The creature loses sight of them and turns its attention toward the other trucks, where Moheb and Fawn are hiding. Both of them stay completely still, trying not to make a sound. The monster climbs onto their truck then, strangely, lies down on top of it as if it's resting. They can't get a phone signal and have no way to call for help. Fawn whispers to Moheb, "We need to escape before that thing wakes up." She quietly opens the truck door and steps out, trying to stay calm despite how terrified and disgusted she feels. She reaches another vehicle nearby and tries to open it, but the car alarm suddenly goes off, blasting a loud noise that wakes the monster immediately. It turns its head, spots Moheb, and in a split second lunges forward, devouring him whole. At the same time, we see them trying to wake up the girl who fainted after falling into that pit. Everyone was looking for a way out before the monster came and finished them off. While moving through the tunnels, they reached a fork with two paths, but no one knew which one was the right way. Luckily, Kakab heard a phone ringing and realized which direction the sound was coming from, so he and Foon followed it. What they didn't know, though, was that they were heading deeper into the cave. There, they found piles of bones scattered on the ground and realized they had reached the center of the cave, the monster's nesting ground filled with giant lizard eggs, all about to hatch. As they followed the sound of the phone, Jane noticed the body of their friend wrapped in the same shroud that appeared at the beginning of the movie. That's when Foon discovered that his friend was still alive but couldn't get him out. Exploring further, she found many more bodies preserved the same way and realized that the creature was keeping these corpses to feed its offspring once the eggs hatched. Kakab said, "There's nothing we can do, we have to get out of here fast." But Foon refused. She said, "I'm not leaving these people to die. Maybe you're used to walking away, leaving even your own family behind, like your grandfather, who raised you and you still abandoned him, but I won't do the same. I'm going to save them." Then we flash back to one of Kakab's memories and learn why he left his grandfather and the village. After winning his first gold medal, his grandfather didn't attend the ceremony, and Kakab felt hurt and forgotten. Foon told him, "You were wrong about him. Let me remind you of something. I went to your grandfather's funeral because he once saved my life when I was a child. On the same day you got your award, I was bitten by a venomous snake. Your grandfather rushed me to the hospital, and that's why he couldn't attend your ceremony." Kakab realized his mistake and said, You're right. I won't abandon my friends this time. But we'll need help from outside. While trying to find a way out, he noticed some peanuts scattered on the ground and figured someone must have tried to escape that way. So they decided to follow the trail of peanuts, hoping it would lead to an exit. But they didn't know that the monster had returned and was already placing new bodies where it wanted them. Eventually, they found the exit, and Foon marked the spot to remember it. They also discovered a sticky substance used to preserve the bodies. The wall nearby was damp, meaning there was water close by. They realized the giant lizard had blocked the flow of the underground river when it built its nest. Suddenly, the monster saw them and attacked, forcing them to run. While escaping, they came across another group of workers and tried to warn them, but it was too late. The workers fired their guns at the creature, but the lizard leaped into the air, attacked, and knocked them all to the ground. Cawcab tried to protect them but was struck down. The monster grabbed Foon, swallowed her, and disappeared underground. Cawcab wanted to follow, but the workers stopped him, saying he couldn't do anything alone. Soon, more people arrived, including his cousin, and they all gathered to plan a rescue mission. Cawcab explained that the monster didn't kill its victims immediately, it preserved them for when the eggs hatched. Their goal was to rescue everyone trapped underground. Meanwhile, the monster was closing in on Tony, ready to devour him, but the rescue team distracted it by blasting loud music. The monster turned toward the sound, giving them time to prepare a trap using steel cables to hold it down. At the same time, others entered the cave, following Foon's trail to save the captives. The monster burst out of the opening, roaring furiously. They fired giant arrows from their trucks, piercing its scales. It screamed in pain but soon broke free and attacked again. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, one of the workers threw a Molotov cocktail at it, setting it on fire. The creature howled, retreated, and dove back underground. Meanwhile, Foon regained consciousness inside the cave and began rescuing her trapped friends. She found Jane and the workers freeing the bodies, but the ground started shaking. The monster was moving through the tunnel. The businessman panicked and ran while everyone else tried to escape. Foon refused to leave and risked her life to save her friends. She found the businessman and helped him toward the exit, but the monster appeared in front of them. The man ran away in fear, leaving her behind. The creature lunged at Foon, but Cawcab suddenly jumped onto its back, striking its head with all his strength. The monster roared in pain. Cawcab kept fighting, stabbing the creature in the neck. The monster chased them, but they hid behind rocks. When it found them, Cawcab spotted a flare gun and fired it into the monster, stunning it. He then placed his phone nearby, playing a video to trick the creature into thinking it was a human. The monster smashed the phone, giving them a chance to trigger the explosives. The bombs went off, and the underground water burst through, flooding the tunnels. Just as the creature was about to kill them, the raging water swept it away. Cawcab and Foon managed to escape through the opening before the flood consumed everything. As the water poured out from underground, the old wells reopened, and everyone reunited safely. But what they didn't know was that the businessman was still alive. He crawled out from the depths, clutching one of the creature's eggs, meaning a new monster might soon be born because of him. And that's how the movie ends. Thank you, my friends, for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.